After receiving her bachelor's degree in family studies and child development from the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville, Chris Thomas enjoyed being a full-time mom and volunteered for various organizations most of her adult life. As her children graduated and discovered their passions in life, she explored her own. While studying for her second degree in theology, Chris decided to enroll in ceramics course at Texarkana College in late 2009 under the tutelage of Glen Knod. Her strong devotion to clay has been growing ever since, resulting in pieces shown in Texas International Teapot Exhibit, 1894 Gallery Art on the Line, and several of TRAHC's Juried exhibitions. Her love of all clay things has resulted in a thriving small business producing functional and sculptural pieces. Please help me welcome Chris Thomas.
Well, thank you all so much, and thank you for your applause. We'll see if you applaud afterwards. Whenever I get the opportunity to speak in front of people, the first thing I like to do is give thanks to God. I give thanks to God for the opportunity. He is our creator, the original and the primary artist, and I just thank him for the chance to come out tonight and share with y'all some of the inspirations in my life. The second I like to say thank you to, and I always get emotional, is that man right there, Mr. David Thomas. My whole life is designed around what the opportunities that he has given me, the opportunity to be a full-time mom, which was not always easy, and the opportunity to explore my passions because he made sure that the mortgage and the insurance are paid, and I thank you for that. I want to thank my kids who came up from Houston. I want to thank Texarkana Regional Arts and Humanities Council for having me this evening, and I want to thank each of you. I'm looking around and I know each of you, and I thank you for being here tonight, giving up your St. Patty's Day to be here. I know. Okay, you get a $3 beer now. Anyway. The other thing that's been on my heart a lot, is, as I am sure yours as well, at a time when the world seems so fragile, when all that we've believed, especially because I look around and a lot of y'all are close to my age, some of you are, well, you're all my, anyway. The world is different today than it was 2.5 years ago. And when the world is this fragile, it's important that we share the power of art because it does give us a chance to process our emotions, our hopes, our fears. And in that thought, I would invite you to take a moment with me of silence for the Ukrainian people who don't have the ability to have quiet because of what's raining down upon them. And so just a moment of silence. And I thank you. One of the things I've been doing is looking on Instagram for, is it not amazing we have this internet, regional, national, international ability to plug in with people that we've never known or never would have met. And I found Ukrainian artists who are using Instagram to just say, here I am, what is happening? The power of art, the power of art. I asked a couple of my artist friends today, what is art? And they did not have, well, they're not just friends, they're kids. They didn't have words because for me, art gets to that point when it's really there aren't words. Okay, so by a show of hands, how many artists or artisans do we have here tonight? Raise your hands, come on, I know. See, a lot of y'all. Okay. And how many people have or hope to have a small business, if not already have a small business? Yeah? Okay. And how many just saw that Pecan Point was going to give us a special deal, and so they came for that? And then when they found it, anyway, I was thrilled. Yay, Bill Skurlock. Well, in hopes that my story might inspire you as you create your own, I've been asked to share a few thoughts tonight on how to develop your passion, some marketing and some sales ideas, and also where does inspiration or creation comes from. The truth of the matter, I'm looking around, so many of y'all have already been in my studio, so you kind of know this story already, and I thank you for being patient with me as I share it yet again. In the current issue of Four States Living magazine, Robin Rogers wrote down her thoughts on how her business is successful. She even keeps these thoughts written down on her bedside table. And so she published them this time, right? And I went ahead and copied them off, all 8 of them. I'm not going to cover all of them tonight, but they're on this handout over here. But to me, I was looking at it and going, oh my gosh, Robin, you should be giving this talk, because this is exactly, I would agree with everything she's written there. And whether you have a home business or whether you, in your banking business, they're great suggestions. The first one that she wrote down is that love what you do. Love what you do, because passion and hard work will determine success. Passion and hard work will determine success. So I was like intrigued with that. It's true. Love what you do. Passion. So passion, the definition in the dictionary is something that arouses enthusiasm, something that you have an intense desire to do. And then I look further, and the word passion itself comes from a Latin root word that means suffering. And so we use the word, the passion of Christ, right? The suffering and death of Christ. And that kind of made me stop and think for a few moments, where is this hardness, where is this suffering in getting a passion? Again, I've shared this story so many times that most of my adult life I wanted to try pottery, but I never seemed to find the time or the money. Now, I made sure the kids took art classes and even maybe a couple of pottery classes or ceramics classes, but I just never really found the time for me to do it and I kind of put it all over the place, my age, because in 2009, at 49 years old, I had a good friend, Cindy Masterson. Who remembers the Mastersons from the pastor over at Hardy Memorial? Anyway, Cindy Masterson was taking the college clay class, and she had done it for several semesters, and I was like intrigued, but I kept coming up with reasons why, well, probably I shouldn't do that myself. And then I realized, wait a minute, I'm 49 years old, and to really get good at something, it might take a couple of years. How old do I think, when do I think I'm going to have time, if not now? And then my dad started with hospice, and I was like, it was one of those moments, a voice in the heart or in the head, I don't know, that said, life is not a dress rehearsal. If you have something that's on your heart of hearts to do, life is not a dress rehearsal. Do it. Find a way and do it. I have been very blessed in my life to have different hobby businesses. But at the time, I'll be honest, when I started taking the clay class, I had no clue. I'm looking at Joyce because Joyce is another ceramic artist here in town who's taught art for, dare I say, decades, did you? 19 years. Who's taught art a whole lot longer than I have. But I was so naive when I started my clay business. It was like, oh, I don't need a kiln. Well, you can't do ceramics without a kiln. But it was that naivete that gave me the ability to just keep going, just learn as I went along. I do know that for me, when it came to pottery, I had a friend hand me a piece of pottery, and I had no clue who made it. And it turned out to be a gentleman by the name of Warren McKenzie. But there was something about holding this piece of pottery. It wasn't an electric thing, it was a sense of connection, right? Come to find out, this guy has stuff in the Smithsonian. But the pottery, the feel of it, the weight of it, the texture of it taught me something, connected with me, and was what I wanted to do. It spoke to my heart. And so the journey began. As you think about, and again, I'm looking over, I'm seeing Syl over here, who does a Monday motivational thing and is a fabulous author here in town, and she sends me motivation every Monday, and I read it. But when you consider what your passion is, you might think back over events in your life, things that layer on top of each other, experiences, and they will talk to you. Most of you, I'm looking around, most of you have found that part of your life that is your passion, because I know all of y'all, so I know you found it. Passion and hard work determine your success. Love what you do, because there's definitely going to be work coming about. Success means different things at different times. For me, the first couple of years, I just wanted to be able to throw a bowl, and I brought my first bowl tonight to show you. It's even dated on the back, 2009. But I just wanted to be able to throw a bowl. And I told anybody that listened, when I actually, after a year or two of taking the class, I started, to sell my work. And I just told anybody, I'm only going to make pottery. It's only going to be pottery. Pottery is it. I am about making dinnerware. Well, you could see that it kind of changed. My point being, think about what success means to you at this stage. What does success mean to you? Because as you do it, as you grow, if you don't define and think about what success is, because it's different for every individual, right? If you don't define what success is, how will you know when you've achieved that? And how will you have that moment when you go, oh, let's take it to the next level. What's the next thing that's going to happen? So that my studio, I wrote some great sentences here, and I was like, oh, I should read that. My studio is, and how many of y'all been to my studio? Y'all know. My studio is a large room on the back of our house. It's southern facing and a wall of windows. I'm so blessed to have this studio. No offense, love y'all. Empty nest is so much fun. So once I got an empty nest, we turned this room into a studio. And it's a place where, I'm sure David knows this, but in case he doesn't, during the day, because he's gone, darn it, I get the house to myself. During the day, I enjoy nothing more than having no electronics on. I have a couple of kitties at my side, little cats at my side, and I stop. For me, inspiration comes in that stopping, and I listen. And what I hear is the wind moving the chimes. I take a moment to actually hear the clock ticking, the birds singing, and then I start working. And I listen, because a lot of what I do can be repetitive, and whether it's on the wheel or hand building, my hands can take over, and I just listen. And the best days are when time flows and I look up and it's 2 hours later. But in that inspiration, sometimes there's nothing, and some days something will click. I can vividly remember about 2.5 years ago, one of those days, there are some artists that literally fabulously sketch out everything they make before they make it. And that's great. And they know this is how I want to make it, and then they put it into clay. The way that works for me is I start, and then I see what the clay does. On my most recent puck, I was making her, and I realized that neck wanted to arch. Because at first I thought she was going to be upright, and but the neck wanted to arch, and I thought, well, so I listened to the clay in the quiet. 2.5 years ago, again, that vivid memory is when I saw just a fold in the clay, and I could still see that piece of clay. How many tons of clay have I gone since then? But I can still see that little fold in the clay, a slab of clay, and I thought of a medieval headdress. And from that medieval headdress, I thought, well, how about if I put a face? And it became, for some of y'all who might remember, a couple of years ago at Arts Market, I did a series of busts called Hildegard. 2 months later, the world shut down with COVID. My studio, all the things that I had going on got very quiet. And it was at that moment that a series of sculptures that I named the Sisters of Solitude came into being. And it's just become an evolution in my creativity and in my process, something I would never have thought in a million years that would be coming through. It came through. Again, I'm a big proponent for taking time to be quiet. In our world today, it's always something going on. It's very easy. It doesn't cost anything to turn on something. Let it be quiet. Give your chance to be quiet. Now, having said that, I'll also put on some salsa music and really get it going when I have to get the little guys out, right? The little folk out, because Los Angeles is calling for them. So there's always that. Creativity flows then from inspiration. I found that as I grow in my physical abilities, my skills, it's also my intellectual and emotional confidence is also growing. So it's a whole person process. And that's been something that was kind of surprising to me, how much it was a whole person process. With defining what I consider success, there are fabulous academic artists. But in Texarkana, there's not a whole lot of opportunities for me to become an academic artist or to have academic studies or academic courses even. So I had to be a little bit more creative in what works for me, and to be honest, what was financially successful for me. I did have the opportunity, I was going to share there are some tax advantages to being, I'm checking my time here. Oh, I'm doing great. So there are certain tax advantages to having a home-based business, and most of you that have a home-based business, I would assume you already know of, but it's kind of fun to go, okay, so when you love clay, and you have a clay business, buying a really good coffee cup, yeah, that's a study piece. I'm studying it. Yeah, right?
Materials.
I am studying it. But the truth of it, I laugh, but it's also very, very true. When you when you are holding someone's coffee cup, and you take a moment, there's something about the way the handle's built, the way the balance of it is, it influences my work. I've had the opportunity for me, the really cool thing about clay is you can buy Smithsonian artists. For $100, you can buy, a coffee cup or a bowl or something, and you have artwork that is worthy of being in a national, if not international, museum, and that just blows my mind. But that's one of the tax advantages to having your own home-based business. There are also several others. I've put some of them, again, on that handout. My biggest thing is telling you I am not an accountant, and there are fabulous accountants out there, and I have an amazing accountant, and she will tell me when I'm right and when I'm wrong, and help me stay guided. So whatever I say tonight, double check with your accountant. And you know what? Their professional services are a business expense, so you take it off your taxable income, right? One of the fun things that I did recently so my husband's a geologist, and we were like, okay, it's time for vacation, and we drove to New Mexico. And it was like, okay, well, if we're going to drive to New Mexico, you know what? They got pottery in New Mexico. Oh, and while we're here looking at beautiful pottery and being influenced by this pottery in New Mexico, let's pick up some supplies. And so I picked up some micaceous clay from New Mexico. which was influenced, right, into my artwork. So as it's a necessary and thing for my work. And so we were going to the IRS can't see this, right? We were going to New Mexico we're going to New Mexico anyway, for the enjoyment, right? It worked out that it was a place that we could then, because when you do what you love and it's your passion, you find that vacations are influenced and they become work experiences as well as vacay is a time of refreshment and renewal. For me, I got to do something with clay, or see what others are doing with clay. So there are some fun tax advantages to having your own home-based business. Do some more research if it's something that you're even considering if you haven't already. And you might be surprised some of the things that you can do, or having a studio that's truly a studio is a tax advantage. So those are some fun things. The other thing that I was going to suggest doing, something that I've done since I've started having my own studios, I believe every felon tells us at the TRAHC board all the time, people support what they help create. And people support their community. So I love purchasing other people's art, right? Locally, there's one person I haven't bought from yet, but it's coming. Well, I have purchased from you. Point behind me. I'm waiting to see what's coming. But my house is, we're blessed with a little bit of excess so that I can spend it on things that I want to. Don't tell David. So support local artists, support other artists that you know, as well as, I purchase pottery from other places, and I do have pottery from other local potters, but then I have artwork. Not only does it support your community, I promise you, their colors, the textures, the form. I have this fabulous Christopher Bachelor's in our bedroom that's large and colorful, and it just wakes me up smiling. That, and then goes, my large commute from the kitchen to the studio, I go in smiling. And then in my studio, I have local artwork. One of the great places to do that is coming up, Cindy Holmes. I can't wait to see what she has coming up in the open spaces here in the gallery. And then, of course, 1894 Gallery, just a few blocks away. If you're not familiar with it, carries a lot of local artists on a regular basis. You can't say, well, there's never anything happening in Texarkana. Oh my gosh, in the art world. It's a great way to get out and support. And I saw someone's getting ready to have a wall of art there, right? Yep, I'm pointing behind it. So get out. I encourage you to find ways to celebrate others and to enjoy their work in your own home and in your office and in your studio. Workshops are a great way to fuel your creativity. I was going to share, and I did on that handout, I've taken some locally, I've taken classes locally, I've taken classes in Tennessee and Massachusetts, but when the world shut down, right? Nina and I are like, we love to go to classes. Anyway, so one of the great things, I found this, now I'm studying with some international artists. It's called domestica.org or .com, but it's on the handout as well if you're interested, because it's a weird spelling because it's European. I have been watching this one artist with her art, she had a very specific product that she makes. The great thing about clay is you can be academic, high fine art, you can be fun art, you can be dinnerware art, right? So this particular lady had a very specific product that she made, and she taught a class on how to make it. She's in the Netherlands. I will never say never, but I'll never go to the Netherlands necessarily to take her class, but yeah, I'll chip in some tuition to pay her for her efforts and take that class. And I made some things making it my own, and so hence we have, she calls them weirdo vases. I don't like the weirdo vases. I'm like, what? That may not be a good translation because she may be in a different language, but I call them snuggles. And so the snuggles kind of, with my own little twist on it, were born. And then as I did them longer and further, I now have my spring snuggle line, which many of you saw when you came up. And so they've gone from vases to bowls and tea light domes and coffee mugs and a whole lot of fun. So inspiration and creativity can come from workshops, as well as then when you do it a few times, then start putting your own spin on it. Start letting it become and speak from you and being something that you enjoy. I think when it comes to coming up with product placement, for me personally, it's would I have this in my house? Because if it doesn't sell, I am going to have this in my house. so there you go, right? Will I have this in my house? And there are times when something happens and I go, oh yeah, I love it. I love it. That's going to sell. Of course, my kids will tell you too that they have just as often when I go, this is, the other thing you have to do, because I'll go, oh, this is horrible. And they're like, Mom, I know it's horrible. It's not, I put it away. Because in the clay world, once you put it in the kiln at 2,200 degrees and it comes back out, it may not be what you're expecting. A lot of times, it's not what you're expecting. So I'll put it away and come back to it a month later and go, oh my gosh, that's so cute. Now, it wasn't what I was expecting, but it is what it is. And it has its own beauty. And then sometimes y'all buy stuff that I'm like, what? But I thank you. And I know that everybody has their own taste, right? Their own, and I celebrate that. I was going to share a couple of marketing and sales things. For me, they follow a cycle of creation, preparation, and then great self-doubt. And David can tell you about this, that it's like, I don't know why I did it. It's horrible. Nothing's good. So he's always having to be the one to bolster my self-confidence a little bit. You do it enough, and then it's easier. The cycle doesn't get quite as down to that self-doubt. Because for me, I love direct sales. I love the arts market. I really considered how much did I want to talk about TRAHC, because I can get emotional about TRAHC. TRAHC was the very first place that gave me the ability to sell something. And so the arts market of, I want to say 2011, it might have been 2010. I don't remember. And Jeannie Harrell. Like I said, I can't even look because I will get emotional. It was right over there by Dr. Morris. Had my first booth.
And it was only in one room back in the day.
Was it only upstairs?
Yeah, and then we moved it downstairs. Remember, I called you up and said, would you possibly go down to the ground floor? And we'll
Best
open
decision.
that door. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I was up here. The other thing that happened, for many of you know this, at that first place right over there with my little booth, and I made $600, which is all I made for the whole year, and I was so thrilled. It was like the best thing that ever happened to me. What? But the very best thing that ever happened to me, and y'all know this too, is Nina Cork. For those of you who know who Nina Cork is, walked up to my booth and introduced herself to me, and became my best friend. Best friend I've ever had, because we shared this love of clay. And Nina was texting me today, sending me, oh my gosh, wait till y'all see it. Oh, wow. I can't even tell you what she told me today, but exciting things happening in her life. She's since moved to Mississippi, but she and I would share arts market booths after for several years. Just had a whole lot of fun together, and still do. We're trying to figure out a time when we can get together. So direct sales. Winefest is the next thing coming up in May, and it's a whole lot of fun. And if you enjoy a glass of wine and beautiful Spring Lake Park weather and supporting a fabulous cause with the Alzheimer's Alliance, come out to Winefest. I kind of for those wanting to build businesses, I kind of gear what I'm doing. It's different. What I offer for Winefest in spring is different than what I offer in December, right? There's different colors that I put on my products, different glazes that I put on. These out here are my spring line, obviously. Ready for Mother's Day, ready for your Easter basket, but probably not going to be very many of those available at Christmas time because I like to keep things champion and different and fun. Another, I have commission-based sales. I walked up to a store in Houston, in the Montrose area, if you know Houston, and they had a big sign up saying handcrafted in the USA, and I said, oh, hey, I did handcrafted, and I asked to talk to the owner, and she graciously took a chance on me. We've been working together for about 8 years, and so she takes a commission as she sells. The challenge of that is, right, I don't get paid till a month afterwards, but the way this is set up and 1894 is set up, I get to choose what I take to them. So that allows me some creativity as I develop new things. Whereas a wholesale order, like I have a store in downtown Los Angeles called Fold Gallery, they found me because I suspect because of Space Montrose, my store in Houston, they found me and started really pestering me for a price line sheet and product information. And so I gave it to them, 4 years ago now? Probably about 4 years ago. And they've become really my best outlet. I have yet to meet them. They order 3, if not 4 times a year, and each time is about 2 weeks worth of work. And I'm thrilled. Okay, that's 8 weeks. That's 2 months out of the year that they give me work. Nice people. I make sure I take care of them. They pay me. She's fabulous. I literally say, okay, you got 100 little folk on the way. It'll be there Monday, and she'll pay me that day. She'll send me, and I'm like, no, I take care of her, and she takes care of me. It's a great working relationship. So that was something I was going to say, is take care of your people, be good to others. Tim Robbins' op-ed piece is taking care of others and saying thank you a lot. Wholesale. Okay, I do have a website. I will be honest to say. I enjoy it, and I'll do it a few times a year, but there's so much effort that goes into the website, and I could take everything I make from now until May 7th and sell it the day of Winefest, and so there's that, how much time do I spend on developing a website and packaging things and taking the chance. But I will say, fun thing, just before, and some of y'all have heard this story, just before Christmas, I had a gentleman say, hey, I'd like, do you have any moon babies? Do you have any moon babies? And I said, oh, I'm so sorry, now I'll make some soon. And so in January, hey, do you have any moon babies? And I was like, oh, I'll make some, and you get first choice. And then I realized, I don't know where this guy found me. He had on there, his name was Richard Reynolds, and I thought, oh, there's a Texarkana Richard Reynolds, but it was from Ohio, and then he had retired lieutenant general from the United States Air Force, and I was like, oh, well, that's not it. I don't know where the guy found me. I still don't know where the guy found me. But he found me, and I'm ever grateful. But so I sent him a picture of 5 moon babies, going, "You get your choice, and I'll have it to you by St. Valentine's Day." And he said, "Would I be selfish if I just ordered the whole squadron?" And I said, "No, that'd be just fine. I'll pack them up." So then I wrote back, "Okay, Cupid via FedEx says they'll be there by Valentine's Day." And he was thrilled, and I was thrilled. And so there's something about the internet, and it's just, it's sending good out into the world, and good comes back. I don't know how else to describe it. The other thing, did I say this already, that when it comes to your social media, I know on my social media, which I do through Facebook and Instagram, that it represents my brand, my business, as much, if not more, than my person. And so I'm very aware, even when I'm posting about the grandkids, because, no offense, y'all, I have the best in the whole wide world. Yay, thank you. I'm aware that it's representing my business as well as my personal life. There are others that can tell you all about, and Syl is one of them, I still can't figure out the algorithms and how and why one thing is picked up and the next thing I'll have, one thing will be 75 people will comment on it, and then the next, it's like, did I even post it, right? This lady that I did the snuggle, I call them snuggle vases, weirdo vases. The reason why I was following her is because on her single vases, I was like, these are cute. Oh, look, she has a set. Okay, let me see. I'd like to support her. She had $145 on her single snuggle vase. I get 28. But feel free for her birthday. And I was like, oh my, what? How is hers? What? How? And she put up 100 of them and sell out in 3 hours. And I'm like, what? Okay, how does that work? And then I said, well, let me look at her page. And she has 166,000 followers. That's how that works. I don't know how to go about getting 166,000 followers. But the truth of the matter is, I don't know that I want to. Is that what success is to me? If I got $145 per snuggle vase, I guess I'd be making snuggle vases the rest of my life. And I wanted to have that chance and that ability to be creative and to choose and to grow. So there are, I'm more than open to suggestions about social media, and again, I know others, and if you have social media questions, I bring them to Syl, because she's fabulous at it. She has podcasts and websites, and yeah, she's fabulous. She's fabulous. One other thing is I do have an additional income stream because I've been teaching workshops and classes, and I give TRAHC the thanks. They were the first place to take a chance on me, so to speak. And so I have one coming up. I think some of y'all are signed up for it at the end of the month. Yay, it's sold out. Yay, again. And then I've also done them in Atlanta and do a few times in my home. So, varieties of different ways to have sales, bolster self-confidence, and help me have fun as I do my production. I wanted to just share 2 quick last thoughts. Again, Robin Rogers has fabulous business suggestions for success, but I think you could take most of them and say success in your life as well. One of the things she said was surround yourself with good people, and it's true. Surround yourself with good people, and I feel surrounded with good people tonight, and I thank you again for being here, but not only in thinking about it, I also had thought how it's not just surrounding yourself with good people, but it's finding good in the people you're surrounded with, because they are. Nobody knows your struggles. Nobody knows what the next person is going through or has gone through. And I just, again, I give thanks for the creative process, whatever that process be in your life, to give us the ability to share and to connect, sometimes with words, sometimes without words. And so, again, thank y'all for being here tonight. Duck, fat, frogs.
At this time, we'll open up for just 15-minute Q&A, so if anyone has any questions, please.
We're counting on you, Bill.
Now is the time.
I do have a question.
Please.
Okay, so I've told you this before. Your facial expressions are so loaded. And I was just curious if you wouldn't mind sharing if there is a specific process that comes through you or to you when you're really kind of refining the looks on these faces. Is it something that is intentionally deliberate or using a reference, or is it really just an intuitive process?
So I had I won't say who. There's a very academic, artistic way, and I had someone once comment to me that Pinterest has killed creativity, and I was just like, huh? Because she's a lot more skilled and has a lot more academic background in it. Because for me, I go to Pinterest to be inspired by what's out there. I don't know what's out there. I mean, there's just, I have to figure out how to get out and about, right? So I go to Pinterest, I go to YouTube, I Google. If you look at my Instagram account, people say, oh, I've got this horrible Instagram account. I'm like, oh my gosh, all I have is potters and ceramics and artists. And so all that I'm seeing is people and their processes and how they do it and what they're doing and so forth. So it's kind of around me. I get a lot of it from the internet. I have tried, I was one of those people that as a child, the art teacher was like, really? Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah, dumb, you know. I'm not a 2D artist. So for me to try and sketch out something, it doesn't happen that much. And I really struggled with that. I thought, if I can't sketch it out, you know, I've got to be purposeful. I've got to be... And then I let it go. So there's this great artist in New Mexico by the name of Deborah Fritz, if you ever get the chance. Deborah Fritz, fabulous artist. She has a very academic background, and a professor, and her husband's a professor, very fabulous. But she wrote, I watched her little video and everything, and she said, I don't know what I'm making when I step into the studio in the morning. And it released me. I mean, this has like been in the last year and a half. It released me. It was like, okay, so there is merit in the fact that I don't know what I'm going to make some days when I walk into the studio. When it comes to sculptural pieces, I will tell myself, this is the week, this is the day, let's get started. But I won't know until I'm actually going into the process. I have no idea how that came about, and I love it. And she was inspired by my very favorite puck of all times, who I'm trying not to look at. My daughter was Puck with the Hoosier Shakespeare Festival. And I love Puck, even if she was my very favorite Puck of all times, but I love Shakespeare, and I've seen multiple Pucks. Such a great, I love this. So this is a hint of what's coming in the fall and in the later. We're going to see more sprites and fairies, and I love Ariel and The Tempest, and so I know that they're there, but I don't know how they will emerge. I literally didn't know what I was doing when I was making this piece, and I'm kind of glad I didn't, because if I had known, I might have been much more structured and much more specific. So does that help with your question? The sisters started out as the Sisters of Solitude, and have just emerged into this series, an ongoing series. They'll have a little group at a time. What I love, I know you didn't ask this question, but what I love is synchronicity in the world of art. I'll go to my studio and start creating. And my buddy Nina Cork is in her studio and she's creating. And my other buddy Polly Cook is in her studio and she's creating. And we come together at Arts Market and we're all like, Queens? You did Queens? What? You got crowns? What? I mean, all three of us. Okay, here's my crane. So in the art world, it's called synchronicity. Sometimes there's just something, we're not, no one's copying off of each other. It just happens. But seeing each other's work then influences, encourages, sometimes just makes you go, I want to be that much better because I see that work. So there's that as well. Which wasn't your question, but I wasn't interested. I love that term, synchronicity.
One of the things that I love is that you have a style. It's a recognizable style. That's sometimes very difficult for artists to be able to create. Do you have, and just I'm still getting to know you,
started out, I would put I have a little chalk mark, so on my pottery pieces, I put that chalk mark, and then when I would trim out the bottom, I would do a prayer, which was still my initials, but the T became a cross. Because not everybody, perhaps, I didn't want to make a big deal out of it, but for me, I say a prayer over that which I work. In the last year, on some of my sculptural pieces, not all of them, in honor of, there's nothing up, well, there is, in honor of our healthcare workers, you'll notice a blue heart. My mom was an RN, my sister's an RN. Healthcare workers are amazing. What they have done in the past 2 years, I will always, for the rest of my life, be in awe of, as we deal with some family members that have some pretty huge health issues coming up. Again, healthcare workers are stepping up, and when I say healthcare workers, I'm talking about maintenance staff and the people that do the oxygen and the RNs and the doctors and the how, you know, it's a wide range. I volunteered with a hospital at St. Mike's with a spiritual care department for about 9 years. And so I have a deep appreciation and thanksgiving. So yes, a blue heart. You'll see that not on all my pieces, but if you see a blue heart on something, you'll know. So you'll know. Huh? Does yours have a blue heart on it? Yes.
Mine does too.
There you go. Well, that's where the blue heart comes from. And sometimes artists will tell you, I know Deborah's, the couple of pieces I have of hers have the red dots, and they started as cardinals. So yeah, I love that. It's just kind of a little secret. It's our way of putting out to the world. It's kind of scary how much is out there in the world. Any other questions this evening? And I thank you for those.
What's your favorite piece you've ever created?
The next one.
Oh.
I would say, okay, every time I do something, it's like, every year it's different. I'm looking around. So I made 7 Sisters of a Midsummer Night. And I love all of them, and they have a real significance to my heart. They're very much a part of my heart for lots of reasons. And if you had a chance to see it, you might be aware of some of those reasons. But they were each different. They became much more varied than just the sisters that were like Luna out here. So I created Puck. And I had 4 people ask me before I was finished with them whether or not they could purchase it. And I just nonchalantly asked my daughter, was there anything that you'd like of this series, since it's, you inspired it with your Midsummer Night? And she said, let me think about it. I'm like, yeah. And she said, how about, I'd like someday, but you'd have to hold on to it for me for a little bit. I'd like Puck. And I was just like jumping up and down. I was so excited. I did not want to force her to take it. And it was significant change. That would have been the most expensive thing I had ever offered her. But I was like, oh, okay, darling, if that's what you're doing. So I think for right now, before I start doing these other sprites, I'm sure Ariel is out there someplace. I think Puck is probably my
You've had some incredible works, and you've been doing this. I remember that teapot show up here. That was just amazing. What did teapots?
I've done, well, I did a series, again, TRAHC was my first exhibition in 2015. I had it on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd floor. I'm just saying, I had
Oh,
first,
okay,
second,
maybe
third,
that's
just and we did have a series of teapots.
Yeah.
So it was fun. Hey, darling, yeah, glad you're here. Did you have any questions?
What is your favorite thing you've ever made?
Beth just asked that. I didn't hear. And I told her the answer was the next thing I'm going to make. But it's true. It's true. So I think it's another very creative. I mean, she's creative in so many mediums and so fabulous. So, but for right now, probably Puck. My plug. So, any other questions? Anybody hungry for something?
I think with that, we'll close it for this evening. Chris Thomas, everyone.